Hello, this is Peter Hollemans, and I'm the developer for the CoastWatch Utilities and the CoastWatch Data Analysis Tool, CDAT. And this is a demo on CDAT, which I gave a shortened version of this demo at the Santa Cruz meeting for the CoastWatch group. And this is just an extended version with more demo and more information because I have more time. So I'll go through a number of features of the CoastWatch Data Analysis Tool and show you how to use it and some of the cool things that I like to do with it. So I'll start with going to the coastwatch.noaa.gov website here in my browser, and I'll show you where to download the software. On this new web page, if you go on to the user resources under software and utilities, CoastWatch Utilities, I'll click on that, and we have a current version of 3.3.1. I've been putting a lot of new features into the software, and so the beta version of the software with those new features in it is available down here. And I'll be working with a slightly even newer version of this, but this is the current beta that's publicly available, 2.0 build. So this is 3.3.2 build 2002 for Windows, Linux, and Mac. Alright, so I've already downloaded the software and it's on my machine, so I won't do any download or installation. I am going to be working with some demo data that I've downloaded. This is an HDF level 2 AVHR data file from NOAA 19 captured at the Gilmore Creek site that's in Alaska, and it'll be near the poles, near the North Pole. You can download that kind of data yourself. I'll show where I got it from. If we go over on the CoastWatch site, I'll just go home again to show you where it starts. If we go to the satellite data products area and the sea surface temperature products, and then over to near real time and AVHRR, so I'll click on that. So there are actually a lot of products available. You can see on the CoastWatch webpage most of the formats you can read in CDAT, if I understand correctly, HDF and NetCDF data, and there are also browse images available. So this is a description of the data. I'm going to go to the Data Access tab here, and I'll go to the FTP Anonymous website, or FTP server, let's say. In my Mac, it wants me to open that up in my Finder, so I'll connect to that FTP site and we'll see the data there. Looks like they have level 2 and level 3 data. So if I click on level 2, which is the satellite projection data in HDF format, you can see a number of files here. I've already downloaded my data file, so I won't download another one and waste time on the video, but you can see there are a lot of data files available from the latest number of days, from Gilmore Creek and Monterey, Wallops Island, Miami, and so you can use any of these files in CDAT from various satellites, NOAA 18, MEDOP 2, NOAA 19. Okay, so I'll just get rid of that for now. And what I can do, I can load the data in a number of different ways. So here's my demo data HDF file. I can double click this and it will start the CoastWatch Data Analysis Tool by default. And I can select my channel data that I want to load into CDAT. Let me just cancel that for a second. And another way to do it is if I already have, here's my CDAT icon here on my taskbar. So I'll just click that. I can start CDAT. So another way to load it would be to just drag that file into CDAT, and then I can see the data open here. So I can do it that way as well. And of course, CDAT has an open file button here, which I could use to go through all of the directories and find my data. I tend to prefer dragging it on or double clicking it, so I'll just do that like this. So I'll load up this data. These are AVHR channel data bands. And there are bands for sea surface temperature and cloud as well. I'm not going to bother opening those, even though that's actually what the product is, a sea surface temperature level 2 product. But these bands are also available. So I'll load those. Goes through and computes statistics for those bands so that it can present a histogram here. Now, I can actually find out, just as a side note, I can find out what version of the CoastWatch Data Analysis Tool I'm running by going under the Help and saying About. So you can see here it's 3.3.2 and 2085. That's a beta build that I've been working on. It's not available, but there's nothing significantly new in that build that isn't already on the website. So as soon as I can, I'll post the new betas to the website. So you can see in the CoastWatch Data Analysis Tool window, I've loaded all the AVHRR channels. Just give you a little brief tour here of the window. Up here are the file operations. Open a file, close this current one. It'll show up, a number of files can be opened at once, and they'll show up as tabs in this area here, just like a web browser has tabs. You can export the data to either a data file like a netcdf or HDF, or to an image file like a PNG or a PDF. And then these are all of the navigation, view navigation buttons. I can zoom in and out. One-to-one shows me 1 pixel in the data for every pixel on the screen. And I can pan around the image like this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to just going to change to channel 2 so we can see a bit better. There we go. And I can recenter the image on wherever I click, like that. Say I'm interested in this pack ice here. There we go. I can fit the image to the screen so that the bounds of this is, in this case, the satellite projection data fits to the bounds of the screen, and reset so I can see the entire image. This is actually an image of northern Canada and Alaska and the ocean up north of Canada and Alaska. And so what else can I show you? Okay, so over on the left-hand side here, continuing on my CDAT tour, on the left-hand side are a set of toolbars or toolbar buttons that you can use to change what the view is showing and to layer on top of this image other vector overlays or bitmask overlays. So in this left-hand button, it's the color enhancement. You can see a histogram of the, in this case, channel 2 data, and I can change this slider here and change the range. I could type in a range that I'm interested in. Say I want to scale from 0 to 50 for the albedo data. I can normalize, meaning that it takes a standard deviation and a window around, the mean and standard deviation, and forms a window around it using these enhancement sliders. And I can reverse the image and reset to the original when it was loaded. I'll go back to 0 to 50 because that's a reasonable enhancement. This second bar here, this second button here lets you pick the palette, so I can go through and pick a different one. I like black and white for albedo, but for temperature data such as channel 4, I like having a color palette, so the HSL 256. Somebody might like the, for example, where is it, rainbow, which is a reasonable one for color data. Let me enhance this one too. There we go. So thermal data from AVHRR. Let's have a look. So here's the overlay tool, and you can add. You know what? I'm going to go back to channel 2 and put it to a black and white palette, and then I'll add some overlays. There we go. I'm going to add, for example, a coastline overlay, and there we go. Let me zoom in a little bit too. and I'll just change the CDAT window to a little bit larger size. There we go. I did that by changing, there's a hotkey in the View menu for the window size. On Windows you can do Control 1, 2, 3, 4, and it will change the window size. On Mac it's Command key 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's Command 2, Command 1 and 2, like that. So I've added the coastlines. Let me add a latitude longitude grid. There we go. So we know we're up at 75 north. This is sometimes I actually have to look in Google Maps to figure out exactly where I am in the north, because I'm not as familiar with this geography. So this is a large lake here, and I looked this up on Google Maps, and it looks like it's in the Northwest Territories. This is the let's see, the Great Bear Lake. So there it is, Great Bear Lake, and we're looking at an area up here in the Beaufort Sea, north of the Yukon Territory and north of Alaska. And so there it is. And let's see what's next on my tour. So that's the toolbar buttons for overlays. You can also add political overlays. So in this case, let's say I wanted to change them to a red color, and you can modify overlays by hitting this edit button down here after highlighting the overlay that you want to edit. Or what I like to do is I like to double click. So I'll double click this political overlay here, and I can say let's draw the state borders as well as the international borders, and we'll draw them in red. So there we go. There's the state, that's the provincial actually border, and you can see that's Alaska on this side and the Yukon on that side. Okay, you can also add bathymetry and mask overlays, and I'll show an example of a mask overlay in a moment. What other toolbar buttons? We can do data surveys, which I'll show, which will survey the image data, channel 2 data in this case, being shown. We can put annotations on top, which I'll show also. So boxes and lines and text. What else can we do? This is a color composite. I'll show that in a moment too, where you can composite 3 different channels. So in this case, I'm going to composite channel 1, 2, and 4 to get a color image, a false color image. But if we had a true color bands in the loaded, for instance from Modus, we could select the appropriate bands and create a true color composite. And this is a tool for correcting the coastline and image data. This is more for when you have navigation errors in the satellite data, which we used to have a lot more, but now our navigation quality is quite good. So I hardly ever use that toolbar anymore, that toolbar button. So let's go back here, and we've enhanced the channel 2 data, so that's good. Let me zoom in on an area here and take a look at it. Let's suppose I was looking for pack ice, and I suspected that this area here in the image was actually pack ice and not cloud, because it has that appearance. To a person that knows what pack ice looks like, it's fairly clear that that's what it is. But let's say I was looking for that, and so I've added my coast and grid lines. Let me just change my coastline a little bit. I like to have the drop shadows turned on so that it shows up better on a color image, which I'm going to switch to in a second. I'll do that with my latitude, longitude lines as well. There we go. Can't see it as well in this black and white, but it'll show up in the color when I do a false color composite. So, at this point, let me show also full screen mode, different view mode. So up here in the view menu, full screen mode, Command F or Control F for Windows. So I can just do that, Control F. And then we get a full screen. This is good for presentations. We do one-to-one mode. There we go. You can really see the detail in the AVHRR data. That's why I like it so much. It's got a lot of detail. It's very smooth, easy to work with in level 2 projection. And the tool does a good job of rendering coastlines on top of the sensor scan level 2 AVHRR. So I can pan around, zoom. Can't do anything with the analysis tool so much in full screen mode, but it gives a lot of nice detail, and a lot of screen real estate is used up, so that's good for presentations if you need to do something. All right, let me close that for now. What else was I going to look at? Well, let's say we were looking at this pack ice and we wanted to make a guess at what is pack ice and what isn't, and maybe as a first order guess for AVHR data, we could say that we could look at the thermal image data and the albedo data. So let's look at the thermal data first. So we'll look at channel 4. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is actually the area where you can switch the variables. So any of the variables that I've loaded, I can switch to their image here. Let's see. So I've got my channel 4 data there. I'm going to switch to my favorite HSL 256 palette. And it looks like if I normalize the range there. Now when I was in channel 2, the pack ice was up around here. Let me switch to channel 4 and see, well, what is that? It's sort of hard to tell what's what there. But just for fun, I'm going to do a survey, a box survey of that area, plus some of the, what I think is probably open ocean in the Beaufort Sea next to that. So if I do a survey, I can get the statistics on that area, and it will show me also a plot. Now to me it looks like there are two main lobes to the histogram. One here which is less than 0 degrees Celsius in the channel 4, and one here which is greater than. To me that indicates these two areas have a different property. One's probably the open ocean and one's the pack ice, which is less than 0, so it would be frozen. So that's one guess as to how to find pack ice, is the temperature. And let's take a look at the albedo image, channel 2. Now I'll do a similar survey here in channel 2. Maybe I'll do it a little bit over this way so I can get better definition between the gray pack ice area and what I think is open ocean. And it looks like I've got, in this case, also two lobes. So one seems to be a darker area below, say, channel 2, 10% albedo right around here, and then a larger, higher albedo area here between 10 and 20. Now, when I pass my mouse cursor over here, I can see in the lower right section of my CDAT window values of 18, 19, 17, 18, and down here I can see values of 2, 7. Some of this is cloud probably. 4 or 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an ad hoc expression mask that I can try to test my hypothesis about what I might be able to use in AVHR to identify pack ice. So I'll turn these surveys off so they're not distracting me, and I can go into my my overlays toolbar here, my toolbar button, and I can create a new mask overlay. Click here and an expression. Let me create an expression mask. I'll make it show up in red, and I'll make my math expression correspond to what I've concluded about the temperatures and the albedos that I think pack ice is going to correspond to. So let's say AVHR channel 4. I want to highlight areas that are less than 0, and I also want to make sure that I'm highlighting AVHR channel 2 is greater than, say, 10 in albedo, but it's less than, let me just put this back here, and it's also channel 2 values less than 20. So this is an expression that I've put all these conditions together: channel 4 less than 0, and channel 2 greater than 10, and channel 2 less than 20. So only pixels that satisfy that expression will be highlighted. So let's take a look at what we got. And there we go. So we actually have done a reasonable job of delineating the edge here of what we think of this is pack ice in the Beaufort Sea. Looks like it's put the expression mask on top of my latitude longitude line. So I'm just going to take it, and I can shift around the rendering order of these overlays here in the list, and I can use these buttons here to do that. So I'm going to shift it down below my latitude longitude lines and coastlines. I'll put it at the very bottom. So because rendering order goes from bottom to top, things that are on the top will be rendered last, and things at the bottom of the stack will be rendered first. The program isn't smart enough to know which order you would want them in. It just adds them to the top as you create new overlays into the list. So there we go. We've got an idea of where the pack ice is. I mean, it's caught other things such as clouds too, because AVHR isn't really the perfect tool for identifying ice. But we can create these kinds of ad hoc things to test a hypothesis about what pack ice looks like and what its properties are. So let's take a look at other areas and see if that has actually worked out. It looks like it has. In this area here, we can see some ice. If I turn off the mask using this checkbox here, I can turn it on and off, and I can see that in between the areas of ice that are, or outside the areas of ice in the middle of the image here, there are clouds. So it's done a reasonable job at identifying it. So that's good. So let me just, I'll switch over now to making annotations on top of the image that I've just created. So let me just zoom out a little bit and pan back over to here. So here's an example of, well, now that I've decided that I know what certain things are in this image, I'll label them. So up here in my toolbar, I can go and create an annotation. Let me create a text annotation. By default, all the text annotation, or any of the annotations, will have these colors. So anything new I put on will have this, and these colors, white and line styles and certain text fonts. And I can change those after I've created the annotations, but I'd rather not have to do that. So let me just change the drawing color to something I want. And you have a whole color palette here to work with. So let me just do it in a light cyan kind of a color. Let me make my font, let's say it's 16 large and bold. And then I can create a text annotation. Let's say I put here pack ice. There we go. And well, this is land over here, so I'll label that for the viewers. Here's a open ocean right here. And what else do I have? I mean, we have some cloud in this image as well, so I could label some clouds. There's some clouds up here. Let's put it up here. So here's some cloud. There we go. What else can I do? You know what? I may as well show the AVHRR red, green, blue composite mode. It'll probably make this image make a lot more sense because of the addition of colors. So what I can do is, now that I've annotated everything, let me show channel 1, and I'll go to the enhancement tool and I'll normalize. I like to normalize the enhancements when I create color composites because it seems to bring out the colors the best. Channel 1, channel 2, I'll normalize that. I'm going to use channel 4 in my color composite, so I'll normalize that but reverse it so that it maps cold to bright colors in the color composite and warm to dark colors. So like that. There we go. So the color composite takes into account all of the enhancements of each channel that I'm putting into it. And now I can go to this toolbar here. I want the red component to be drawn from channel 1, the green from channel 2, and the blue from channel 4. I'll turn on the composite, and you can see the image makes a lot more sense. You can see the pack ice is this sort of dim purpley blue area. Clouds are nice and bright up here and on the sides over here. Land is showing up as green, open ocean is showing up as blue, so it all makes sense. And you can see the area here that where there's ice with some cloud on top of it as well, and some clouds on top of the land here. So what can I do with this image now? Let's say I'm making a presentation. I'm talking about the components of the image data here. Maybe I would want to export to a PNG file for a presentation. So let's see. I'll just center that. Maybe zoom in a little bit more so we've got a bit more detail. There we go. And I can export to a PNG file. And like this. I'll show you what it looks like. Let's see over here in my demo data area. Here's the PNG file that I just created. So it's the image is in the center with exactly what I see in my view in CDAT. A little context image down here of where on the Earth this data is being drawn from, and some information about the satellite and sensor, the time of capture, and the latitude longitude bounds with a NOAA branding here, data courtesy of CoastWatch. So let's say maybe if I zoom in, you can see these jagged lines. Let's say maybe I wanted my presentation to have a little bit more resolution and smoothness. So I wouldn't have to use a PNG. I could use a PDF. So let's just see what the difference is. If I export to a PDF file, right there, let's do the same thing. There we go. And I can take a look at that PDF file. And you'll see that the PDF equivalent is has a lot more smooth lines when you zoom in, coastlines and grid lines and fonts. So that might be something for a presentation if you're putting that into, on my Mac I just drag that right into my slideshow, and it will just put itself in there and render very nicely at all different resolutions. So the image data will still be the same resolution, but at least the fonts and lines will look nice. So there you go. That's something for a presentation. Now, one of the things that CDAT can also do is it can have a number of files open at once. So while I've been working on this file, let's say I wanted to switch, and I don't have to close the CDAT window. I can just go into my demo data and say, here's a netcdf file that I downloaded from the ERDAP server on the West Coast Node website. It's a sea surface temperature 8-day composite. So let me open that. I'm going to drag that in there, and it's only got one field in it. It's an SST field for the globe 8-day composite. Looks like I'm not sure what satellite that is. Let's see if I go into one of the things I can do is I can go into the file information and see if I can discover. I think it's a Modus. Composite, but I'm not sure about that. Anyways, so there I have my two tabs, one showing what I was working on, and here's another one with a completely different project. One thing I like to do if I just have oceanographic data to display is I like to go into the overlay toolbar button here, and I like to, you'll notice that there are overlay groups down here. So CDAT comes installed with a number of overlay groups. You can create your own by highlighting them in the list and then saving them, and there are videos, demo videos of how to do that on YouTube. But let's, for this case, we'll just load some oceanographic overlays. So if I click the overlay group I want to open and click this button down here for open group, then it will just put a bunch of convenient oceanographic overlays, a lawn grid, state and international lines, and a coast with a land mask. So let's zoom in on North America. Let's say I don't know, maybe I'm interested in the Eastern Pacific, so I can just include, there's Hawaii right there. Let me zoom in on that area there between the mainland and Hawaii. There we go. Let's say I wanted to make it like a nice long map for a presentation, or let's see. So, and I should probably color enhance it a little bit more. It all looks orange at this point. Sea surface temperature in this case is being loaded between minus 60 and 45, which isn't really a good range for this image. So let's say I go from 5 to 30 maybe work. Oh, that's pretty dark. Maybe 35. There, something like that. And let's see, what else can I do? Let me try exporting that to a PDF or a PNG file. You'll notice that when I exported this data from the color enhancement image to a PDF file, there's no color bar because there's no scale here for the colors. It's just a color composite and false color. But if I were to export, let's try exporting this data here to a PNG, or let's make it a PDF image for a presentation. So there we go. Let's take a look at that PDF file. Okay, so that looks pretty good. But maybe you can see how it's shown the area here on the context image. But maybe I don't like the color. So let me just change that. So here's, as you can see, the color bars on the one side mapping from cold colors 5 degrees Celsius up to warm 35 degrees Celsius, from blue to orange. But let's say I don't like that palette, so okay, I'll just pick something else, maybe the rainbow one. You know what, I'll just color enhance that a little bit differently. Something like that. There, that's nice and vibrant, although it washes out the Gulf of Mexico there, maybe something like that. And I can re-export that. So let's take a look here. Actually, you know what? The blue-red is a nice. There. Oh, that's a pretty nice looking one. Let's do that one. Yeah. Let's say we type in 5 to what, 30. Okay, so that's actually reasonable. So let's export that to a PDF. See what that looks like. Okay, that's the one I like. So I'm going to use that, and you can see the same thing as the other. In the other case, you zoom in and you get some nice vector rendered lines, and the image data remains the same resolution. So, and how big is that file, anyways? PDF file, 1.7 megabytes. It's reasonable for that size of data. You know what, though? These lines are a little bit thin, so let me try. I'll do one more thing. I'll show you how you can change the overlay lines. Let's say the latitude-longitude grid I'm not really happy with. It's kind of a thin set of lines. So let me double-click that. So I'm going to show that again. I'll double-click on this area here. I can let's draw the line shadows, and maybe I want to set the grid increment manually. So if I auto apply here, it will show a ridiculously fine grid, but I can up that. So let's say every 5 degrees there, something like that, or maybe every 10 degrees there. Good reference points. Okay, so draw the line drop shadow. Good. Okay, but let's make the line a little bit thicker too while we're at it. There we go. Okay, well that looks nice. I like that. So let's re-export that to a PDF. There we go. Okay, so you can see you can make all kinds of changes to the way the image looks. Get what you want. All right, so that's all I've got right now for the demo. Thanks for watching, and I'll post this on YouTube. You can see some other demos of the CoastWatch Data Analysis Tool in the Terranus Earth Sciences channel. So if you search for CoastWatch Data Analysis Tool, you should be able to find that on YouTube. Thanks very much.